Before I get started, I need you to know that I have no idea what I'm doing. I watched a couple videos and bought 2 kits off of Amazon, and that's about the extent of my knowledge. But first kit that I bought was the chemicals. It's the CS41 Cinestill color film developing kit. I don't know, it's liquid and it's easy and it's good, apparently. Everything else you see here is from the second kit that I have. Now the reason these are so important is because they allow us to put the chemicals on our film without having it exposed to light ever. Now this is a light-proof container and this is a light-proof bag, and it's kind of cool how they work together, but it's also kind of tricky, so I'll show you that in a minute. Now, aside from everything that I get in the kits, you also have to buy a few other things. First thing that I bought was a funnel. You also need some scissors, some AAA batteries for your timer, and most importantly, you need some distilled water. Now, you can technically use tap water, I think, but everybody's tap water has different chemicals in it and it's going to react differently, and you might not get the best outcome if you don't use distilled water, so it's probably safest just to use distilled water, but do whatever you want. Now, like I said, the Patterson tank and the change bag are the 2 most important parts of this kit, and I don't know how to use them yet, so let's practice loading this thing. Okay, so this is what I have to load it onto. So there's 2 of them, so I think I can take that off. And then these come off. Each spool holds a roll of film. So you crack this open, and you have to do all this with your eyes closed. So I watched a tutorial and it said to cut off this little piece, just because apparently it messes with stuff. Just right like that. And now we just have a flat end on our film. What we have to do is push it through this end, and then there's a bearing on the other side, on each side too. So that actually, each little bearing is just a little small ball. And what they do is, once you feed this through, like this, it'll get caught. And these ball bearings will stick into these little squares that are on the film. And then, if I did it right, see that? It just coils itself. There we go. And so I guess that's it. Now I just need to learn how to do it with my eyes closed, which presumably is the hard part, so let's practice that. It's tight, not missing anything. And that's looking good. There's the film. That's 2. And for anybody wondering how you get the film off, you just twist the other way. This comes apart. Pull it off. And then when you put it back on, you just want to make sure these line back up. It just snaps back in place. Now that I'm somewhat confident, I'll show you what I do. This is how I spool it in the bag. When you put the film in, you want to make sure you only go a couple squares over the bearings, because earlier it started doing this. It started popping out of the track. And then this is what happens. To avoid that, I just put it over, say 1 or 2 blocks, and then that leaves the entire track open. I like to twist it like this in like a prayer position, just because holding my hands together will keep this in line. I had one time where it twisted over like this, and when it twisted over, it popped it out of this side, and then I had to re-spool it. So, prayer position, twist, 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 twist. Then, when you're in the bag and you're actually doing this, there's still going to be a canister attached to the end, so it's going to be probably stuck right around here. You have to pull that back a little bit and then snip it off. For the most part, that's how you load film on a spool. And I think that means we're ready for the chemical part, which is scary but exciting, and I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, just to give you some context here, this film that I'm going to be working on, it doesn't mean anything to me. I bought a bunch of cameras and one of them had film in it, and I figured I'd use that as a practice run. Also, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but this change bag and Patterson tank are light proof, and they work great together, and the reason that they're so important is because if light ever touches this film, it's ruined. There's no pictures on it anymore, and all of this would be for nothing. So this can be kind of a stressful step.
We've got our scissors, we've got our popper, our canister. I think we're ready. Okay, the bath is about 110, so I'm gonna get some more hot water. Jeez Louise. Alright. Normally you don't need this much water. I have like a full tote. I don't know if you can see that. See how much water I have? You don't need that much usually, but because I'm taking so long, the water keeps cooling down. So, you know, you end up needing to fill the kettle twice. So, we have to go to 591 mils.
Just in case anybody's curious, these are the instructions that came with the chemical kit. The kit's very easy to follow. Everything's set up so all the chemicals fill up to 1 quart. As long as you measure out the water correctly, you just have to pour the chemicals in order and you're done.
There. We are just, when I say just, I mean just under 600. I already get this done. I forgot to put my gloves on. Alright, gloves on, let's keep going. And that goes and stir. Oh yeah, that stuff's strong. Do a rinse first, which I forgot to do. About a minute, so now we'll pour that out. That's fine. It's a little bit hectic here now, but we're getting there. So in goes the developer. Okay, a little bit extra. And now I need to start a timer. And now, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to pour the last of my developer into my developer bottle. Okay. Now, we can pour this out. I'm going to pour it back into this container. Here, I'm going to do a rinse. Okay, that's fine, I'm sure. And now this goes into here. Beautiful. Okay. That goes there. And now we're done with the developer. Now I will rinse the film off. 500 and a bit. A little bit more. Okay, it's about 530, and now I'm sure part A. Now this stuff can stain your clothes. This is bleach, and that stuff is strong, let me tell you. Now this goes in, and the last one. You don't want to add this one too quickly. If you do, it will overflow. Now I put this in for 8 minutes. Okay, some extra Blix. Beautiful. And start this. Definitely not what you want to see. Make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, we have the Blix in its rightful home. And I think we're ready for the stabilizer. I'm going to clean out my containers and run this under lukewarm water for about 3 minutes. At this point, it doesn't matter if it's distilled or not, everything's done. And this is actually just one optional final step. So let's go. We're all cleaned up. We have a clean jug. Anytime you're changing chemicals, you have to rinse whatever container it was just in, whether that's this Patterson tank or if it's this measuring cup. Is that what it is? Jug? I don't know. Funnel, anything. If it's touching a new chemical, clean it. First of all, it's gonna make your chemicals last longer. Second of all, I'm pretty sure if the developer and the Blix touch, bad stuff happens. So just rinse between everything and you'll be fine. This goes up to about 900 and a bit. Perfect. Yeah, that's it. And this is stabilizer. And that should be good. Then I pull it out and let it dry at the end. I'm gonna go rinse it off right quick one more time. And then that's just to get rid of the bubbles, really. The moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see what this looks like. I'm so scared. Jeez Louise. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it worked. So what did I do wrong? I don't know if there was anything shot on this. I think there was. Like I said, it's bombs. Anyway, I'm gonna see if that means I messed it up or if maybe something else is going on. You see those letters right there? Gold 206. That means that we did it right. Because we have like the words on the outside, that just means that Bob didn't shoot anything. Oh my god, I never thought I'd be so happy to see the letters. Anyway, so that means we did something right. That means we're on the right track. And I'm going to take a breather. This took like 2 hours, just in case you're looking for a timeline. I'm sure it's a little bit longer just because of me filming. But, you know, about 2 hours isn't too bad for your first time, I think. So, practice round done. We made our mistakes. I think it might be time. First of all, I'm going to get a snack. And then after my snack, then I think I'm ready to develop my own film. Wish me luck. I also just realized that the Patterson tank that I have has its own disturber. That's what this is. So I don't have to tip it around everywhere, which makes sense why it was leaking. So I think we're going to avoid any leaking with this. Very nice. Let's see what we got. Please. I don't see anything. Ah! Look. Can you see it? See it? There's pictures on there. It's so exciting. Okay, now I have to go hang these up. I'm gonna hang them in my bathroom, and then I'm gonna finish developing the other. So that's the entire development process. You've made a few mistakes. I hope you learned from my mistakes. Overall, it seems like a pretty forgiving process. The temperature didn't matter too much. Mine came out perfectly fine, and I didn't have any temperature regulator in there. So don't break the bank just to develop your film at home. It's a pretty easy process. The only issues I really had were the leaking, and that's because my Patterson tank was not made to be flipped upside down, so that makes sense. I had some heating issues with my water, and that's just because the water was sitting while I was putting stuff in the bag and recording. So if you do this in the right order, you're going to be fine. Get everything inside the tank first and then put your water out. Then chemicals and rinse in the bathroom. It's very straightforward. The first one's going to be a little bit more rough just because you actually have to mix out the water and the chemicals. But once they're in these containers, it works great. And you don't really have to worry about messing up, percentages of chemical, because as long as you make a quart of overall chemical, all you have to do is pour the water to the right line, roughly. It doesn't even have to be exact. And then you throw the chemicals in order, A, B, C, and you're done. So it takes a little bit extra time, but overall, especially once you're done mixing them, it works great. Now, I'm going to finish up developing my last one, and then we'll move over to the scanner.
Okay, this is my 4th time doing this. I didn't realize how many options you had for scanning. So I went ahead and I kind of learned as much as I could. So if you have any questions about anything that I'm doing, or you want to learn more about it, everything that I followed to get to where I am is going to be in the description. Every video, every article, the kits that I bought, everything that I used is in the description. And I think that should be a good start for anybody else who's also trying to learn this. Now, let's talk about scanning. When you want to scan film, there's 2 big ways that you can use to scan film. You can either use a film scanner, or if you have a nice camera, you can use that. Not many people have nice cameras, they're expensive. But if you have one on hand, then this could be a good option for you. I went with the film scanner because it's more attainable to most people, and they're not that expensive. And when you're buying a scanner, you want to make sure it is a film scanner. Normal scanners will not scan film. The easiest way to figure out if your scanner is a film scanner is by opening it up and looking at the top. If it's just white on the top, then that's just a regular scanner. If it has a skinny window right in the middle, then that's a film scanner. That window is what actually scans the film. Most film scanners will come with film holders, but if yours doesn't, say you bought it secondhand and it got lost, there are other options. I think a film holder is the easiest and cheapest option, but you can also do a wet scan, and you can also use anti-Newton ring glass. I won't go into those because most people aren't going to use those, but they are good to know about. Okay, we have our scanner picked. Now we have to choose how we're going to change our negatives to positives. You can either let the scanner do all the work. It's usually not that great, takes a long time, and not every scanner has that option, or we can use a program. There are plenty of programs out there, but the 2 that I see talked about the most are Negative Lab Pro and Grain to Pixel. I'm going to go with Grain to Pixel. All you really need to know is they're both plugins for Adobe programs, which is kind of a bummer because you do need to own these Adobe programs. But somebody once told me that there's a way to maybe get them for like less money or free, or I can't remember how it went. Maybe it's something to look into. Anyway, Negative Lab Pro works with Lightroom, so it's kind of easier to use, but it costs $100 US. And Grain to Pixel works with Photoshop. It is a bit of a newer program, so it does feel kind of clunky sometimes, but it works great. And in my opinion, it does give better results, and it's free. So it seems like a no-brainer. So now we have our scanner picked out. We know how we're going to convert our negatives. Now it's finally time to scan. I have an Epson scanner, so I'm going to be using Epson Scan. It's been working great for me. I know there's other programs that you have to pay for that kind of work well. I like free stuff, honestly, so that might be one more thing to keep in mind when you're picking which scanner you want to buy. Now, if you Epson scanner havers, you want to hop in, you want to go to professional mode, and I have a preset, but I'll show you how to make it. So you want to do film and then positive film, even though that seems counterintuitive. You want to turn off all this, and then you want to go down to file save settings. You want to make sure this is a TIFF. Go into options, turn off embedded ICC profile. Okay, configuration, you want to make sure there's no color correction. If your film looks crazy, it's probably because you have color correction on of some sort. You can't have any color correction because we're scanning a negative as a positive. So we're kind of tricking the scanner. So that's why you can't have color correction on. So okay there, and then preview. Now this preview is just a low resolution scan, so it should only take like 15 seconds. The actual scan is going to be closer to 6 minutes. Okay, so we're done here. Now you can see here, I have this problem from time to time where the borders aren't lined up exactly. I kind of like how it looks, but if you don't like that, then you can go over to this mode, and all this does is scans the entire image, and then you just have to crop each image yourself. Okay, so these are looking pretty good to me. I'm only going to scan these first 2 images just to save some time, and let's go. Usually when I have 12 pictures in there, it takes about 6 minutes. If I were to get the scanner to convert 12 images for me, it would probably take closer to a half hour or 45 minutes. So you do save quite a lot of time doing it this way. Okay, we're done scanning. Hop over into Photoshop. And now, my first time doing this, I went into new, open. I was like, how do I do this? When you first download Grain to Pixel, you have to set up a shortcut, and that's where you work from. So you hit your shortcut, and then it opens up a new window. So you don't actually open anything in Photoshop yourself. So mine's Control F6. And then I go in here. So I pick my picture. There we are. And then you hit Run. You hit Run. It's doing stuff. And there's Kaylee. And we have to change our border. So we change our border. There's that. There's that. And now that our border's changed, my first time doing this, I just sat here. I was like, well, it says a bore. Does that mean that it's doing stuff? No. You have to do the hardest part of this whole process. You have to click enter. So you hit enter. And it does its stuff. It flattens images and level 1, level 2, level 3. And then hold. Nothing. And then it's just gone. And I was so confused. I was like, where did it go? Well, it goes to this output folder. Once that's done, you have officially developed your film. Isn't that cool? Now, usually you do have to edit your picture. A lot of the time, mine has a blue tinge to it. So I just have to go in. I usually go into Lightroom and then I edit it a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, you have a positive image. Now, this is kind of what you can expect to come out of Grain to Pixel. This is the image we just did. Very good. This is one of the best ones that I came out with. A lot of them will come out with a blue tinge, just like this. Now, they still look great, but a lot of the time I do edit them just to make them a little closer to what I want them to be. And now is probably a good time to compare the difference between Grain to Pixel and what my Epson V600 scanner will do. So here's the first two. You can see the one on the left is the scanner, a lot more flat, a lot like smokier. I'm not the biggest fan. There's not a lot of contrast. The one on the right is the Grain to Pixel. It looks a lot better to me. Definitely have the border though. If you're having troubles with borders, the actual Epson scan is great at cropping those out, but I kind of like this one better. The colors are way better. And this is what I came up with after editing. So I just calmed down the green tones and I think it looks great. Comparing these two, you can see this a lot more flat, a lot more contrasty on this one. And again, I like Grain to Pixel better. And this is what I did for the edit. This one's a little more heavier on the editing, but I still like how it came out. This is one of my favorite ones, I'll say that. And this one is my favorite one. It just came out so well. This is the scanner. So this one's not too bad. This one took about 10 minutes for just this image. I turned on ice, I turned on color correction, I turned everything. So this looks a little bit better, I think, with everything on. This one, I like the green. I don't know. The contrast in it. Even in the jacket, you can see it punches a little bit more. Hard to tell though. These ones are close. But after editing, I was able to do this. Now, obviously you can tell. Added some hues in here and cut it off with the green and that, and a little heavier on the editing on this one too, but I was just having fun with it. So you can see the difference between the two. A lot of the time, Grain to Pixel comes out on top, but if you want to use your scanner, it doesn't have the worst results. It's definitely viable. So now, after all that, is it even worth it? Well, I just think it's cool, so it's worth it to me. But what about from a cost perspective? So my first kit was $162. My chemical kit was $100, and my scanner was $60. Now, I got the scanner for a good deal, but I've seen many deals like this before. If you keep your eye out, you will be able to find a scanner for this price. So 162 plus 100 plus 60 is $322. Divide that by the 24 rolls that you get from the chemicals. That's $13.50 per roll. My local shop costs $20, so already we're saving money. But now that you have all the gear, all you have to do is pay for the chemicals, which is $100. So from now on, every time you want to develop 24 rolls of film, it costs $100. Guess how much that is per roll? It's just over $4. That's $4 Canadian. That's like nothing. That's nothing. That's insane. Not to mention, if you're scared about the scanning or the editing, you can just develop your film and then take it to a local shop and get it scanned professionally. It just seems like a no-brainer. Maybe it's just me, but this seems like a great way to get into film photography, seeing the whole process through and saving some money. And that's how I learned to develop film at home. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. You probably didn't. More importantly, I hope you enjoyed, and it's been good having you. one.